guys. Okay, so day 2 of talking about the Waco siege, and today we are talking about this idea of synthesizing information. Um, so the first thing I want to go over is kind of what synthesizing means, and then we're going to talk about some things we can kind of synthesize together in regards to the Waco siege, and then you're going to do it on your own. So just to put it as plainly as possible, synthesizing means taking little bits of information and putting it together to form a whole, okay? Now, we do this all the time without realizing it. It's how our brains process things. So first, you have your background knowledge. So as you're learning about this, you may have some background knowledge about it. You may have heard your parents mention things, or you may have asked your parents. You may have what I told you yesterday. You may have seen the commercial for Paramount's new show, Waco, that they came out with last year about it. You may recall a fire. You may recall some fighting, something to do with Christians, and that may be all you know about it. So that is kind of your schema. A schema really, it's a psychological theory, and there's a lot more that goes into it, and it starts with an idea or an observation you have, and then you pick up on more and more, and then you kind of form this hypothesis. But for this, to keep it simple, let's just say this is the knowledge you've already formed about the topic. This is what you know, and you've also synthesized that. You've pulled it from different places. If you mix that with the new information you are going to get, your brain will form an idea. You'll form an opinion or a thought about it, right? So this is synthesizing. This is the process. It's taking what you know and learning new information and putting it all together. So some kind of things that you would say after the process is synthesizing. Now I understand why blah, 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 blah. I'm changing my mind about this after you learn the new information. I used to think this, but now I think this. My new thinking is, these are also excellent topic sentences for essays, by the way, and the ones that you've been synthesizing. I'm beginning to think blah, 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 and you can start informative essays with this. Kind of this, the lesson I learned, and here's what I want to inform you of. After my learning, I now think like, okay, so the first kind of piece of information that I think is super important in this case, and it's also a great thing to use to practice synthesizing. David Koresh did not always go by the name David Koresh. He was born under the name Vernon Howell. Now, by the time he was 18, these are a lot of fun facts kind of about David Koresh, very interesting man. He played guitar, he sang. By the time he was 18, he had the entire Bible memorized. That is pretty much a fact. He claimed to have had that, and everyone who was a member of the Branch Davidian sect will also claim that that is true. They said he could quote scripture like that. He knew where it was. He knew every bit of that book backward and forward. Now, he changed his name before coming to the Branch Davidians. He did not form the Branch Davidian sect. That is a common misconception. There were Branch Davidian sections kind of all over, and people came from all over to be a part of this. There were people from Hawaii, there were people from Australia, and people from California. All over America came to be a part of this religious organization. They had kind of conferences and just believed similar thoughts. They had a heavy focus on the apocalypse and the end of times. They thought it was coming. They were pretty much anti-government, not as fully as Randy Weaver or some of the other extremists, but did not really want much to do with the government, grew their own food, lived off the land, and mainly, which is why the FBI got involved, stockpiled weapons for this giant world war they assumed would be coming soon. Now, again, synthesizing information. David Koresh did not start this group, and his name was Vernon Howell. He heard about this religious group, the Branch Davidians, and changed his name to David Koresh. Is your brain doing a little synthesizing there? Okay. Why do we think, you can answer to yourself since I can't hear you, why do you think he would change his name to David? Well, the Branch Davidians had a heavy focus on King David from the Bible. They believed he was Jesus reincarnate, I believe. I believe they believed that. If not, he was just like their favorite person ever. But I'm pretty sure they believe he was the original form of Jesus. Technically, Jesus was King David reincarnate, is what they believed. But they believed that he was the same divine being as Jesus. So they believed that whomever comes back, again, Jesus or whomever, the Son of God, will also be in the lineage of King David. So Vernon Howell found out about this group of people, and before he joined, he changed his name to David Kresh, obviously for very manipulative reasons. If his name was David, that looks like a divine sign from God that this man who's going to rise up and claim he will be the prophet and the Son of God one day, how fitting that his name is actually David, whom they believe is the Son of God. Okay, so we've already, you can put that together, that his name, that's synthesizing that our brain just did. We took, okay, we know David and Davidians, that's the same root. We knew these people were obsessed with King David. And this man who came to lead them and had every intention of being the leader when he joined, all of a sudden changed his name to David. We can see that he did that for obviously very manipulative reasons. So that would fit here. Now I understand why he changed his name. Okay, so that is an example of synthesizing. I am going to give you another example and talk about it a little more about his entry to the Branch Davidians, but I will have to do that in the next part of this video because the school bell is about to ring and I have a class coming in. Okay, I'll be right back. So I'm back with kind of a part 2 here. We were talking about synthesizing, and we talked about how David Koresh was originally born Vernon Howell, changed his name for some reasons that may not have been too pure, seemed more manipulative and persuasive in character. So a couple other things about his entry that I wanted to tell you. And also just kind of a side note, I don't know if I really explained this fully. Like I said, we're going to be watching documentaries and reading some articles, but I'm just going to give you as much background as I can. I don't mean for this to sound like a history lesson, but it kind of is, and you need to understand all of the pieces in order to learn what we're learning. So I'm just going to kind of talk you through the history while we teach each of these things, but you will be reading an article about what happened today to get the version of what happened from history.com, and then we're going to talk about whether or not after we watch some of the documentaries, we think that was maybe an accurate reflection or a bias, and vice versa with the documentaries. So another just kind of fun fact for you, as David Koresh was kind of entering his way into this religious sect, he obviously did not start out at the top. He had to work his way up. And what happened was there was a woman who, I believe her husband had run the Branch Davidians previously, and he had passed away. So she was running it, and her son worked closely with her and was kind of next in line to be the leader of their group. And David Koresh, shortly into coming into the Branch Davidians, began a romantic relationship with this woman. Now, she was in her 70s. David Koresh was young, 20s. So it was a little, I think, kind of off-putting to certain members of the group at the time. But like I said, he knew the Bible backward and forward, and these were devout Christians. So that was very impressive to them. David Koresh had studied the Seventh-day Adventists, particularly the Branch Davidians, and knew a lot of their beliefs. So again, kind of used his own background knowledge to woo them. And then he mixed in some of his own new info. So he was kind of synthesizing as well. And he kind of just rose to power as this woman's partner of the sect. And one day, he was hunting with her son. There are rumors, now again, this is all hearsay, it's kind of a he said, she said type situation, because none of this was legally documented at the time. But there are rumors that her son did not particularly like David Koresh and thought maybe he had some ill intent going into this and beginning a romantic relationship with his mother. Out on a hunting trip, David Koresh, the woman's son, and I think several other people. They went out for a weekend to go hunting, and the woman's son was actually shot and killed in an accident that no one could ever really fully give the details of. They just know there was an accident hunting, and he was shot and killed and could no longer now step up to power for the Branch Davidians. David Koresh and the woman married, and when she was not able, when they were not able to conceive a child, David Koresh ended the relationship, saying that at this point he was already claiming to be the Son of God, and said that if she were truly pure and who God wanted for her, then he would allow her to be able to have a child even in her older age. There's a story in the Bible he references in which a woman was pregnant in her 70s, Sarah and Abraham, and he says, well, if you were truly who God had planned for me, then he would allow you to be pregnant, just like Sarah. You are not, so I will have to divorce you. At which time he just completely took over full control of the sect. I believe she passed away later, but was essentially just kind of pushed out of the picture because she was told that she was not holy enough to have a child with the Son of God. And so if they were truly meant to be, and it was God's will for them to be together, then God would have allowed her to get pregnant in her 70s. And so that is the story on that. And I think we all probably are having the same thoughts about that. So what you are going to do today, you're going to read the article that I have posted. This is called a KWL chart. You may be familiar with them, maybe not. KWL stands for Know, Want to Know, Learn. Okay, so we start with, what do I know? So you're going to tell me what you knew before, well, you can even include what the knowledge that I've told you. What do you know about the Waco siege and the Branch Davidians and David Koresh so far? You're going to fill that box out. Then tell me what you want to know, okay? Now, at this point, you'll take a break, you'll go read the article, and then you'll tell me what you learned from the article. Be sure to include whether or not that answered what you wanted to know, or if it didn't. And then as I'm grading these, I will try to look at each of the questions you have, what you wanted to know, whether or not that was answered, and I will try to answer it. Make sure that we get the answer for you if I have it. There are a lot of things, unfortunately, about this particular moment in history that went kind of unknown. So I will do my best. Please read the article, fill this out for a grade, and submit it. And I will see you guys tomorrow.